NOGAFEM's mission is to lead sex and gendered innovation, research, services, and regulatory processes to fast-track and fundamentally change how science and business accelerate health tech equity for all genders. NOGAFEM's current focus is on education and knowledge, innovation with a gender lens, and policy formation. Since the beginning of the war, we have been relentlessly supporting women's health tech innovation through webinars and free consulting. We have been supporting women from different ethnicities, religions, and backgrounds cope with the consequences of a prolonged stress on their health and well-being, and we have been part of coalitions raising awareness to sexual violence as part of armed conflicts and their horrendous outcomes. We will appreciate your support in our cause. So I'm very happy to introduce my partner and friend, Dr. Ronell Klingman. Ronell is an experienced scientific and grant writer, having published and helped write many scientific publications. Ronell holds a Bachelor of Medicine and Surgery from South Africa. Dr. Ronell Klingman has a deep understanding of science, technology, research, and medicine, working with the top 20 multinational pharmaceutical and biotech companies over the last 2 decades. She combines on-the-ground experience in the world of healthcare innovation with a deep understanding of the global needs and trends in women's health. Ronell will share with us some insight on global trends and the current status of Israeli femtech market. Ronell, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Michal. Welcome, everybody, to our webinar on new opportunities in women's health tech. I'm very happy to be with you all today. Just a few words on NOGAFEM before we go into the global trends. We really are focused on education, innovation, and policy formation. Those are our 3 pillars. And we are a dynamic duo of 2 professional women who got together 4 years ago, seeing huge gaps in women's health and wanting to accelerate it with our unique sex and gender lens, which I'll elaborate on a little bit later. So when we talk about our activities, we focus on innovation. We really are trying to integrate and provide support for the entire women's health ecosystem. And we support women's health through a variety of activities, including mentoring, free of charge to women's health startups. We also give professional education to our network of over 1,500 professionals, researchers, investors, innovators, and women. And we also try and promote collaboration amongst key stakeholders within the ecosystem. The other focus that we have is really education. We really believe that we need to educate the next generation of entrepreneurs and healthcare professionals to integrate medicine, science, and innovation, and to do this through a sex and gender-focused lens. The reason for that is that many of the biases in health tech have come about due to the lack of research and the lack of specifically separating sex and gender and trying to understand the differences of how conditions affect men and women and other genders. So we really look at identifying research gaps. We lecture and educate future healthcare professionals, including medical students, on what the differences are between men and women in clinical medicine, and we really are driving innovation in this field. The other area is that we look at promoting sex and gender in the development of technologies. So we consult companies on how to integrate a sex and gender approach into their product development, not just into the research or the databases that they may use. And we're trying to use this as a driver to drive policy change. We see in the States and in many global bodies that integration of sex and gender into clinical research is becoming a hot topic and highly recommended. We're not yet there in terms of how to do all of that. Sex is a lot easier to look at data and disaggregate between different sexes. Gender is a more complex issue, but this is certainly on the table of most women's health policies and most global policies for research worldwide. So we like to look at women's health as the lifespan landscape. That women's health really starts and ends across the lifespan. So women's health is not limited to conditions that only affect women, although these are extremely important because we have many unmet health needs, even in conditions where women are only affected, such as endometriosis and ovarian cancer, pelvic organ prolapse, and menopause. But we also need to look at women's health in conditions that disproportionately affect women, like autoimmune disorders, which affect 80% women, migraine, Alzheimer's disease, multiple sclerosis, major depression, and others. And then we also need to look at women's health in conditions where women and men have equal prevalence but present differently and require tailored treatment options. A classic example of this is cardiovascular disease. On average, cardiovascular disease affects men and women equally. However, presentation, diagnosis, and treatment are all different in men and women, anatomy and physiology as well. So really, women's health has expanded to the entire lifespan and all conditions affecting women's health across their lifetime. I like to call this moving from niche to public health. The aspect of women's health being a niche area is definitely a thing of the past. Women's health has come under the spotlight. There's a lot of increased public awareness and a much broader understanding of women's health issues as a public health issue. So if 50% of the population suffer from a condition that affects 1 in 10, then you can imagine, such as endometriosis, you can imagine the impact on public health. And a lot more has been done in terms of governmental commitment to funding research because we are so lacking in fundamental translational science for many, many conditions. And the recent Biden administration, the Joe Biden commitment to $200 million in research funding is a huge step forward, and more governments hopefully to follow. But I'd also like to say that women's health is not just a health issue, it's also an economic issue, and it's literally linked to the GDP. If women are healthy, they can stay in the workforce. And in fact, from an economic study done in the US, if all paid women in the US were to take off 1 day of work per year, it would cost the US $21 billion in GDP. So women's health is linked to economies, and it's also linked to societies. And we also know that women's female income and purchasing power is increasing. It's one of the mega trends. And we also know that women are the healthcare gatekeepers for the family. They make 80% of the healthcare decisions, not just for their own health, but for the health of their families. So for all these reasons, including the rise of female entrepreneurs, we know that approximately 70 to 80% of women's health companies have at least one female founder. So for all of these reasons, it is no longer valid to call women's health a niche area, but rather to demonstrate it as a public health issue, a societal issue, and an economic issue. And I think that we're moving the needle in terms of investor awareness, that there is a broader spectrum of women's health concerns beyond pregnancy and fertility. Not that these are not important, and not that we've solved all the issues around those particular areas of women's health, but we are starting to see investment broadening to include diverse issues across a woman's lifespan. And investment is increasing in non-reproductive based companies. There really is a lot of untapped potential in women's health, a lot of under-innovation, a lot of blue white space opportunities. And there we are starting to see an increase in dedicated healthcare funds who are focusing their efforts purely on healthcare, and hoping to see more post-early stage investment, so more later stage investment. I think in general, the global trend is that the pre-seed funding is still there, but then once we get to the seed and the later stage investment, that's when it becomes increasingly difficult. How do we know that women's health is a hot topic? Well, actually, if we just look at the last year, between 2023 and 2024, we've had major women's health reports come out. Fem Health Insights releases every year their Femtech Landscape Report, which is a global report. The Women's Health Innovation Opportunity Map came out in 2023. Silicon Valley released their Innovation in Women's Health report. The World Economic Forum, in association with McKinsey, released their 2024 report on how to close the women's health gap, a $1 trillion opportunity. Recently, C Ventures has come out with a European Femtech report, and Accenture and Springboard came out with their State of Women's Health report a few weeks ago, and the World Economic Forum also brings out every year the global gender gap. So in terms of resources, in terms of attention, women's health has certainly got the spotlight, and we're learning more and more every day. So women's health is traditionally under-researched, and this lack of research has really led to negative health outcomes for women. This is a study published in Obstetrics and Gynecology in 2022, and just shows you the women's health spending is in purple and the general spending is in blue. So we're still sitting at very little women's health spending in terms of research. And the Office of Research for Women's Health's budget from 2003 to 2020 only increased by a couple of $1 million, which is quite significant. So hopefully we're going to see a lot more traction going forward. Women's health is also disproportionately underfunded. So this is a lovely study that was released in Nature journal last year. And if we look at the orange circles, these are conditions where 60% or more affect women, and those in blue are 60% or more affect men. And the size of the circle is really the greater burden. So if funding was proportionate to the burden of disease, you would expect that in the next graph that I'm going to show you, the circle sizes and the order is exactly the same. However, that's not what happens. So as you can see, there's a shift, and conditions in women that cause great disability, migraine, anxiety disorders, in terms of burden, move down and are less funded than other conditions. So there is this disproportionality, which kind of overlooks the disease burden. So how do we close the funding gap? Well, this is not my ideas. These are ideas from all the reports that I've shown you. Don't try and divert funds from one area to another. We need to increase the overall funding. We really need to push for underrepresented areas in research funding, areas where we just don't have the data and don't have the science. And then looking at innovative ways to overcome the research gap. A lot has been spoken about databases and the use of AI to really speed up insights and understanding from existing research where we just haven't done the proper analysis, or looking at databases that could, and solutions that collect data to increase our insights and understanding. So we also still have a disconnect because the sector is really growing. Depending on which report you read, you can take your pick in terms of numbers, but global femtech sector was about $2 billion in venture capital investment in 2021, expected to reach $60 billion by 2027, or in other figures, projected to range from anything from $97 billion to $1.2 trillion US. And really, what's driving this growth is new diagnostic devices, so early diagnosis, and digital platforms that are tailored to women's health. But we only have 4% of health tech funding that actually goes into femtech, so that needs to change. because we want more and more investment, and we know that research is a driver for innovation, and good deep tech innovation is a driver for increasing investment. So where's our emerging potential? Well, we still have a predominance of fertility in traditional femtech areas, including oncology. And I don't think that's going to change. They'll still change significantly in the next little while, because there are still unmet needs and these are still very attractive markets for investors. However, according to Fem Health Insights report, what we are seeing is a massive growth in female-specific mental health conditions, such as 78% growth, huge growth in menopause-related solutions, and we're starting to see the general chronic conditions that significantly affect women increasing. So we are starting to turn the corner and expand this landscape. Just to give you an example of two gaps, endometriosis affects 190 million women. There's no current cure. The market potential is 180 to 220 billion market. Menopause, 450 million women affected each year, high unmet need, very high prevalence, and a very attractive market potential. If we look at Fem Health Insights report, we start to see which countries dominate in terms of femtech companies. The United States by far leads the pack, but Europe and United Kingdom and France come in 2 and 3, Canada 4, Israel number 5, Japan number 6, India number 7. So today's webinar is very, very relevant because we're looking at Israel, Japan, and India. And there are obviously other countries that are growing as well. And just a little note on the female founders. After 2017, we've seen massive growth in femtech companies. Depending on which data you look at, between 70 to 85% are led by female founders. And we're also starting to see a major female and growing female representation in investment roles and corporate leadership, and a lot of support for female entrepreneurs. There are many, many incubator, accelerator, non-equity driven programs for women's health entrepreneurs. And the younger generations are starting to prioritize sex and gender related topics, which may feed through into when they go into STEM, which we're trying to encourage for women, and when they publish research in under-innovated, under-researched areas. So I wanted to speak a little bit about the Israeli ecosystem and what's happening in the women's health market in Israel. Israel has a very unique functioning ecosystem, and that's because there are multiple stakeholders that feed into this innovation ecosystem. Firstly, we have governmental support, Israel Innovation Authority, and many other bodies that support innovation. We have skills that are drawn from army service that go into the innovation ecosystem. We have very strong academia and universities. We have a lot of startups, and we also have multinationals, companies, and private funding. So all of these feed into the innovation ecosystem to make it quite a thriving one, despite the challenges. And I'd like to give you a little bit of a snapshot of where we stand with the Israeli women's health tech landscape. Approximately 70 currently active companies in femtech in Israel. This excludes aesthetics and beauty. The majority are still in the traditional areas: fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, OBGYN care, and female cancer care. But we are seeing new interesting entrants in endometriosis, in menopause, in autoimmune disease, in polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, and we are also seeing growth in pelvic health solutions and a lot of predictive and personalized diagnostics, including database digital solutions. So the growth is starting to come in terms of the innovation beyond the traditional areas. Having said that, there is still a lot of innovation going on in our traditional areas. Stages of companies, 39% are at commercialization stage, 25% are at clinical trial stage, 23% are at prototype stage. So this is showing an evolution of maturity, whereby we've moved from the very early idea stage to actually developing prototypes and actually getting the solutions into clinical trials that are being published and then into commercialization. Having said that, we obviously want to see a huge growth of early stage ideas and innovation. So where are the unmet needs? This is really a snapshot. It's not comprehensive, but we've identified unmet needs in traditional therapeutic areas, ovarian cancer, early detection. We have companies working on that, contraception, and in areas beyond the traditional, we have endometriosis as a huge unmet need, PCOS, pelvic health and urinary incontinence, and menopause. And then we have chronic conditions that are still lack solutions for women in mental health, considering that they are twice as affected by mental health conditions in men. Cardiovascular disease, where there are many differences and many solutions are not suited to women or tailored for them or personalized. Autoimmune disease, which is 80% women, where we really are starting to see exciting developments in terms of predictive data sets trying to diagnose autoimmune disease earlier and reduce the delay in diagnosis and also treatments. Migraine as another example. So where are the unmet needs in terms of technologies? We need to focus more on early diagnostics. Biotherapeutics is still small. We know that the pathway and the length of time and the investment needed in biotherapeutics is much longer, but it still is very much needed. Predictive and personalized solutions, platform technologies that can address more than one condition with the same technology, and the possibility of combining a diagnostic and therapeutic modality in one. So my closing thoughts, and these are not just my thoughts, but really a synopsis of all the landscape reports that we've read, is that we need to be thinking about not just pinpoint solutions for isolated conditions, but platform solutions that can address more than one condition across the woman's lifespan. Synergistic combinations, perhaps one solution isn't what's needed to really create that blockbuster in femtech. Maybe we need two solutions in one. Solutions that can encompass all the stakeholders along the pathway. Again, combined diagnostic and therapeutic solutions. We need innovative data and research strategies to close those gaps quickly. And obviously, we need increased governmental support. We need funding support. We need healthcare system support and a closer working between technology, innovation, and healthcare professionals to try and drive really phenomenal deep tech and innovative solutions. And of course, we need continued education and awareness across the board, from consumers to healthcare professionals to investors to the ecosystem to governmental and healthcare departments. So we are busy with the Women's Health Landscape Report in Israel. It's expected out Q4 2024. It's in progress, and we'll be excited to share those findings with you. Thank you for your time, for listening, and please support us in our activities. NOGAFEM is an NGO. We really are here to build the ecosystem, to provide support for the entire ecosystem, and thank you for listening.